Number one, the credit default swaps, at a minimum, are downgrading the value or the rating of U.S. Treasuries as sovereign debt. I don't think you can deny that. And number two, the debate about mark-to-market. Steve Forbes is right. If he's right, and I lean in his direction, then we don't have to spend $2 trillion of new TARP borrowing on top of $1 trillion of the stimulus borrowing. We don't need that stuff. Where do you come out, Don Luskin?
Well, let's just put this credit default swaps on Treasury stuff away. That's just a ridiculous story. I'll bet just one or two of these things have traded, and
Don,
this is a great example.
It's a market.
Yeah, right. It's a market. This is a perfect example of a market that's producing bogus prices that everybody's getting all excited about.
You're the most market-oriented guy I've ever met. To your credit, you're a market guy. You're dissing this market.
But wait a second. The reality is, we all know that a U.S. Treasury, simply by construction, cannot default. So paying more than zero for a contract that gives you insurance against an event that cannot possibly happen is an irrational thing. So let's just put that aside and move on. Interestingly, though, Larry, that provides a case for you to why mark-to-market ought to be suspended, because it shows that in certain times in history, people go just crazy. There are levels and kinds of risks that markets don't know how to process. They price things near zero just because they're scared to death, and marking the market and meeting regulatory requirements based on bogus market prices makes absolutely no sense at all. At the very least, if we can't suspend these rules, regulators ought to forbear on their application.
Yeah, Forbes told you the issue, and Luskin told you. It's not about moving them from public to private. It's temporary guarantee.
But eventually they will come upon the taxpayers' onuses. We will have to pay for these bad debts sometime in the future.
Watch out what you say about my onus.
Steve Forbes, I'm going to ignore that. Tech should not have any of these big stimulus packages for $1 trillion until we figured out what this TARP, bad bank, bad loan thing's going to be. Don Luskin, when's the stock market going to start rallying big time? When? I need Goldilocks here. I need some optimism. I'm sick to death of this lousy 4-week period.
There's crippling uncertainty because we don't know exactly how stupid the mistake the government's going to make is in the next couple of weeks with stimulus and TARP. We have to wait and see just how bad it'll be.